Ever get that feeling like life's kind of like a mirror? Like
Oh.
all the good stuff, the bad stuff, even though just plain weird, it's all sort of connected to something deeper going on inside.
Yeah.
Well, buckle up, because today we're doing a deep dive into something called the mirror principle.
Okay.
And we've got this really thought-provoke, intriguing source to unpack here. And trust me, this is way more than just like positive vibes or wishful thinking.
Right.
It gets to the heart of how like our inner world shapes our experiences, you know?
Absolutely. What I find fascinating about the mirror principle is that it suggests that our internal state, our thoughts,
Yeah.
our feelings, even our energy,
Yep.
it's not just like contained within us. It's almost like a projector,
Oh, wow.
casting an image onto the screen of our lives.
So instead of the world just kind of happening to us, we're actually playing a role in shaping the reality we experience.
Exactly. It's
Yep.
less about blame and more about empowerment.
Yeah.
You see, the mirror principle invites us to see the connection between what's going on inside and what shows up in our relationships,
Sure.
our opportunities,
Right.
even those just random encounters we have.
Okay, I'm hooked already. Let's break down this whole inner projector idea. Our source uses this great example of having one of those days where, like, everything seems to go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
You spill your coffee, you miss the bus.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards, exactly. Is it really just bad luck, or could our mindset actually be playing a part?
Well, think about it. If you start your day already feeling stressed and flustered, you're more likely to kind of see everything through that lens, right?
Yeah.
Like little inconveniences, they suddenly become major frustrations. And you might even miss opportunities because you're so focused on all the negative stuff.
Wow.
This actually ties into a psychological concept called self-fulfilling prophecies,
Oh, interesting.
where what we expect often becomes our reality. And it's not because of some like mystical force or anything. It's because our expectations actually shape our actions and even our perceptions.
Hold on. So you're telling me that just by shifting my attitude, I could actually change how my day goes?
It's not about magical thinking or anything. It's more about understanding this powerful feedback loop between our inner and outer worlds,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And this source isn't the first to explore this either. The law of attraction is another way to look at it.
Right.
The idea that we attract what we focus on.
Okay.
Of course, it's more nuanced than just wishing for something and poof, it appears.
Right.
But the basic idea is that aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions towards what we want,
Yeah.
that can create this incredibly powerful force for change.
That makes a lot of sense. But let's get practical here. Our source outlines these 3 key steps for putting this mirror principle into action:
Okay.
awareness, alignment, and transformation.
Right.
And I gotta say, that transformation part that's got me kind of intrigued feels almost like superhero-ish, you know?
Hey, it's definitely where the most profound shifts happen. But before we can jump into transforming, we really need to lay the groundwork with awareness.
Okay.
And that's all about taking an honest look at what's going on inside. What thoughts, emotions are we kind of carrying around with us all the time? The source asks this really powerful question here.
Yeah.
Are you nurturing resentment, or are you fostering forgiveness?
Yeah.
Because those inner states, they're not just these abstract feelings. They have a ripple effect on our whole experience of the world,
Wow.
even how we interact with other people.
So if I'm walking around with like a chip on my shoulder, it's like I'm practically inviting conflict into my life.
It's not about blaming ourselves for every bad thing that happens, but it's about recognizing that our internal state, it creates this kind of magnetic field almost,
Mhm.
and it draws in experiences that resonate with that same frequency.
Wow.
And this is where alignment comes in, getting our thoughts, feelings, and actions all move in the same direction.
Oh.
Think about athletes who visualize winning a race.
Yeah.
They're not just daydreaming. They're creating this really powerful internal alignment that fuels their performance. And there's even research on the impact of mental imagery on like physical outcomes.
Like that study with basketball players where the group that visualized making their free throws, they actually improved more than the players who only practiced physically.
Exactly. Alignment. It's not just some feel-good concept.
Yeah.
There's science behind it.
Wow.
But even with awareness and alignment,
Yeah.
true transformation that requires digging a bit deeper.
So it's not enough to just think positive thoughts. We have to actually change those deep-seated patterns and beliefs that might be holding us back.
That's where it gets really challenging, but also incredibly rewarding. Transformation is about taking ownership of our emotional responses.
Okay.
It's about asking ourselves, how often do I blame other people for how I feel?
Right.
Could I reclaim that power by owning those emotions instead.
Mm.
And it's not about letting people off the hook for bad behavior or anything.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we react.
I never thought about it that way. Blaming others for how I feel is actually giving them power over me, isn't it?
It's like handing them the remote control to your emotional state.
Wow.
And transforming those patterns, it takes a lot of introspection. Being really honest with ourselves about what keeps showing up in our lives time and time again.
Right.
It's like looking for the recurring themes in a movie.
Yeah.
Those patterns, they often point to the deeper beliefs that are shaping our whole reality. So we've laid some groundwork here with awareness and alignment.
Right.
But now we get to the really transformative work, facing those kind of shadowy parts of ourselves.
Ooh.
The fears, the insecurities, the things that hold us back.
Okay, so we're going full shadow work now. I'm a little nervous, but also kind of excited.
Yeah.
The source describes these fears and insecurities as like distortions, almost like a funhouse mirror
Right.
that makes us see this warped version of ourselves in the world.
It's a powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah.
And just like a funhouse, mirror those distortions. They're not actually the truth.
Right.
They're just reflections of our internal fears and those limiting beliefs we've got. But here's the good news. We actually have the power to kind of adjust those mirrors, to see ourselves more clearly and create a reality that reflects that clarity.
So how do we even start cleaning those mirrors? That feels kind of daunting, to be honest.
Well, the source offers some really practical techniques here.
Mm.
One of them is reframing.
Okay.
It's not about denying our fears or anything.
Right.
It's about choosing to see them from a different perspective. For example, remember that time you were terrified to give that presentation, but then you absolutely rocked it?
Oh man, don't remind me. I was so nervous. But afterwards, I realized the fear was way worse than the actual experience. And that presentation actually ended up getting me a promotion.
Exactly. By reframing that experience, you took something that was a source of fear
Right.
and you transformed it into this catalyst for growth.
Yeah.
That's the power of shifting our perspective. The source also talks about visualizing our desired outcomes.
Okay.
And not just seeing them, but actually feeling them as if they've already happened.
Wait, so you mean just by imagining something vividly enough, I can actually make it more likely to happen?
It's not quite as simple as like thinking it'll come or anything.
Yeah.
But visualization is a powerful tool for aligning our internal state with the reality we want to create.
Right.
When we create a clear mental image of ourselves succeeding,
Yeah.
we actually tap into the emotional energy of that success,
Wow.
which can boost our confidence and even our motivation to take action.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this all ties together. We become aware of our limiting beliefs, we align our thoughts and actions with our goals, and then we can use these tools like reframing and visualization to actually shift our reality. But what about those times when fear just gets the best of us?
Yeah.
Like when we totally freeze up or just avoid something altogether?
That's where the whole concept of vulnerability comes in.
Yeah.
The source makes a really interesting point that vulnerability isn't actually weakness. It's a source of strength.
That's counterintuitive. We're always told to like toughen up and hide our vulnerabilities.
Right. But think about it. When you connect with someone on a deeper level, isn't it usually because one or both of you were willing to be vulnerable, to share something real and authentic?
That's true. I guess real connection requires letting go of that need to appear perfect and in control all the time.
Exactly. And that leads us to the importance of self-compassion. We can't expect to transform our shadows into light if we're constantly beating ourselves up,
Right.
for our perceived flaws and failures.
So it's not about lowering our standards. It's about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend.
Precisely. The source highlights this difference between self-criticism and self-compassion. When we make a mistake, instead of berating ourselves, we can choose to respond with understanding and encouragement. Imagine you're talking to a friend who's going through a tough time. You wouldn't tell them they're a failure, would you?
Of course not. I'd offer support and remind them of their strengths.
Exactly. So why not extend that same compassion to ourselves? It's about recognizing that we're all works in progress, and that's okay.
Okay, I'm really seeing the value in all this. But let's be real. Transformation isn't a one-time thing, right? How do we make these changes stick? How do we keep those mirrors polished and reflecting the best versions of ourselves? We've covered so much ground in this deep dive into the mirror principle,
Yeah?
From recognizing how our inner world shapes our outer experiences to those powerful techniques like reframing and visualization and the importance of vulnerability and self-compassion. But now I'm kind of curious, how do we actually make all of this part of our daily lives? How do we make these changes last?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Transformation isn't really a destination, it's a journey.
Right.
The source emphasizes that sustaining these shifts, it takes ongoing effort.
Yeah.
We need to integrate them into our daily routine.
So it's not about reaching some like perfect state of inner peace and then just coasting. We got to actively maintain those changes.
Think of it like tending a garden. You can't just plant the seeds and expect them to thrive without taking care of them. The source suggests incorporating practices that really nourish our inner world. Things like meditation,
Oh, yeah.
journaling,
Right.
or even just spending time in nature.
It's like creating those little rituals that remind us of who we're becoming, right? Those moments of stillness where we can check in with ourselves and make sure we're on the right track, still aligned with our values and intentions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about individual practices. The source also highlights the importance of community. Surrounding ourselves with people who support our growth and kind of reflect the values we're embracing that can be incredibly powerful.
It's like having a team of cheerleaders on the sidelines,
Ah,
encouraging us to keep going even when things get tough. Speaking of tough, what about those inevitable setbacks? We're human after all. We're going to mess up sometimes. Does that mean we failed at this whole mirror principle thing?
not at all.
Yeah.
Actually, the source suggests seeing setbacks as opportunities
You know.
for learning and growth.
Yeah.
Resilience, it's not about never falling down. It's about getting back up stronger and wiser each time.
I like that.
Remember, the world's always reflecting back to us, showing us where we might need to tweak things, adjust our course, or maybe refine our approach.
So those moments where things don't go as planned, those are actually valuable feedback. Like the universe has given us a little nudge saying, hey, try it this way instead.
Exactly. And this ties back into that idea of mindfulness, being able to observe our thoughts and emotions without judging them.
Yeah.
The more mindful we become, the easier it is to catch those negative patterns before they spiral out of control and choose a more empowering response.
It's like we become the editors of our own stories, choosing which narratives we want to amplify and which ones we want to rewrite.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It brings us right back to the heart of this deep dive. The world is a mirror. It reflects not just who we are, but who we're becoming.
Right.
Every moment is a chance to reinforce those changes we've made, to live out the values we believe in, and to create a reality that's aligned with our deepest aspirations.
You know, I started this depth dive feeling a little skeptical, gotta be honest, but I'm walking away with this renewed sense of hope and possibility. It's empowering to know that we have more control over our experiences than we think.
It's not about controlling the external world. It's about cultivating an internal state that helps us navigate all of life's challenges with more grace and resilience. And as we do that, we naturally start to attract experiences that reflect that inner harmony.
This has been such a profound and insightful journey. I feel like I have this whole new set of tools to work with and a deeper understanding of how connected my inner and outer worlds really are.
Remember, transformation. It's a lifelong process.
Mhm.
Be patient with yourself,
Yeah.
celebrate the progress you make, and never stop exploring that boundless potential that's within you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mirror principle. May your reflections always be filled with joy and purpose and that radiant glow of your own unique light.